Hey guys, I'm Tim.
And I'm Bob.
And I'm Dan.
This is Board Game Rundown, and today we're doing a top 10. Not just any top 10, though. We're doing a top 10 spooky games to play during the Halloween season.
For you.
Yeah, or me, or you.
It's mostly me.
I've never played any of these.
No,
Oh.
yeah,
That's what we were supposed to do, right? Games we haven't played yet.
Dan's just a wish list.
Yeah.
Don't worry, our lists are arbitrary.
Well,
Mine
some
are
order.
numbered.
But well, there are numbers.
Mine are numbered, and they're in an order.
Okay, good.
So this is the top 10.
Yeah, so
Save the segment.
so guys, what was your approach to your lists?
So mine was like games I have played, but that I'm looking forward to playing again soon.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Similar to what I tend to usually do, but so mine is obviously my 10, favorite games that I would want to play during the Halloween season. But I will say the thing that I like, so theme is the most important thing when it comes to this for sure, but a very close second to me is atmosphere. So you'll find a lot of games on here that other people might mention, including you guys, that I might feel are too party-ish, and that's not what I personally want for a spooky Halloween thing.
Sure.
For the most part, there might be one exception here or something, but for the most part, I want a game in this type of season where you dim the lights, you light candles, and you play an atmospheric game.
Okay.
That is what I like, and that's a theme you're gonna see a lot for me.
I also try to keep mine to like things that are available.
I think I just tend to do that because I'm poor, and so I only have things that are available. I think so.
No hipster picks?
I think I've only got one on my list that
Does it start with A?
no.
Oh, okay.
That doesn't that you wouldn't turn out the light or dim the lights.
I thought you were talking about availability.
No, just one on my list that you wouldn't like dim the
Right.
lights.
Sure.
It's a little more raucous, but it is definitely a horror theme.
Okay,
sure.
That I enjoy quite a bit. But yeah, like Dan said, these are games, and Bob too, that are just through the, like I love horror stuff anyways.
Yes.
So when a good horror themed game comes out, like, give it to me. Let's do it.
Yep.
But most of the ones on the list, like very much, like, October, everybody watches a bunch of horror movies, myself included.
Yep.
And so this is kind of like along that line. Like,
I tried to watch Halloween literally last night, like the what's it called, 2018 Halloween
yeah,
or whatever.
yeah.
Like the
new
original,
trilogy.
the original is streaming. I can watch it, so I did like a week ago or something. But I wanted to watch the 2018 one. It's not available anymore right now. So, but yeah, again, this season makes you just want to do that again.
I
so.
watched Halloween 4 yesterday.
Oh,
It's
wow.
on YouTube for free.
Nice.
I couldn't
Oh,
find it
okay.
anywhere, and
Yeah.
and I after watching it, I realized it probably was a reason that people were just.
Yep.
And so I'm gonna watch 5, even though I'm like, ugh, 3 was rough or 4 was rough, but I'll watch 5. But anyways, that kind of stuff, right?
Yep.
So I'm looking forward to the lists and some of the conversations. Most of these games we have played together on my list.
Yep. Mostly.
But yeah, it'll be fun. It will be fun. So we'll just start with Bob.
Yeah. So mostly, except for this first one, I haven't played with you.
Oh, rude.
So number 10.
Number
Rude.
10. So for my number 10 is a game that I played the legacy version of this. I played 2 scenarios of it, and then that group kind of fell out. But I enjoyed it so much that I asked for it for Christmas. It's the 3rd edition that's out now, but Betrayal at House at the Hill. I had so much fun playing the legacy version of it, and I want to play the normal version of it because I know that Dan has talked about this game a lot. He really enjoys it, and I haven't played the normal version, and I really want to get it to the table and check it out.
I mean, I'll say first, so again, I talked this game up a lot. I do think this is a really good Halloween game. I think it's a good add to your list. I will say, if you've only played the Legacy version, the normal one is going to feel like a downgrade.
Okay.
For sure. The Legacy one, just the writing and the production's a lot better.
Okay.
Really?
But,
Okay.
yeah, but I do really like the
Gosh,
original.
Okay.
I love Betrayal at House on Hill.
Yeah.
I think it's
Have
great.
you played the 3rd edition version of it?
I haven't,
Okay,
no.
that's
I've
the
heard,
one I
I've heard
have.
it's a lateral move, though, so
Okay.
it's very similar
Okay, cool.
in a lot of
Yeah,
ways.
really looking
we
forward
need
to
to
checking
play
it out. Okay.
yeah, good call.
Yeah.
Good call. My number 10. It's very thematic, has amazing art, and there's a little bit of deduction in it, and that is Mask of the Red Death. A little bit of program movement, but the art and the theme of this very much kind of convey, like, in the rule book, there's the short story is in the back of the rule book.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's It's not very long. But it really does sort of give you that ambiance and that feel, that spooky feeling. And in Mask of the Red Death, where you spend like the first 90% of the game trying to figure out where Death is going to be, and then you are planning your movement to like pop around to not be where he's going to be. The thing is, though, is you can only move basically like left to right around, like in a circular
one space at a time,
pattern.
like-
One space at a time, and Death can just be
Pop anywhere.
And it's super fun. The ending is very tense. And again, the artwork and everything just really lend itself to this really fun experience. I have a good time playing it.
Yeah.
This one is a little hard to get, I believe, still, right?
Yeah, maybe.
It's just like
You can
overpriced. You can find it now, but it's a bit overpriced. I
No, if
thought.
you don't get the version that Tim got, because Tim got the cooler looking version
got
of
the
it
deluxe.
with the minis with the deluxe
Oh,
and stuff.
okay.
But you can get the kind of standard version
Okay.
on eBay for relatively cheap.
Okay.
Yeah.
This I've only played this once, but awesome experience. I
Yeah.
really liked this. I loved memorizing throughout the game, not memorizing, but like deducing where Death is gonna be, and then at the end of the game, it's a simultaneous like action where everyone's moving, then Death is moving, then everyone's moving, then Death is moving, and like you're trying to survive,
Yeah.
like
And eliminate
It
people.
is
Running
tense.
from room to room to
Man,
room,
I
yeah.
love
It's
the
really
end there.
fun.
Yeah,
It's
this
really
is
fun.
an honorable mention for me. It didn't
Sweet.
make
Nice.
the pick, but this was an honorable mention. My number 10, though. Another one that I've only played one time, but it's just so thematic, and they did such a good job. I got to give a shout out to Trick or Treat Studios for Halloween.
Nice.
We played and reviewed this game the other day. Halloween is my favorite horror movie of all time. I tend not to like horror movies that much just because I don't get scared. Like, I tend to laugh when I watch horror movies, and something I really like about Halloween is that while it's a horror movie, a slasher as some people call it, like one of the first slashers like that, it's just a really well-made movie. The directing is fantastic. The cinematography is fantastic. Like
The score.
The score is
Yes.
so good. Like, it's just a well-made movie, and I really appreciate it for that. And I thought that when we played the game, I was like, oh man, this has a high bar to reach here, and it reached it. Like, don't get me wrong. If another Halloween comes out, in a year, if I'm a different company, I'm gonna be just as interested in that one. I'm not just like, oh, this is the only quintessential perfect Halloween game. I'm like, yeah, give me more options. But they did a fantastic job with the tension of Michael Myers popping up right behind you in this game.
So good.
And the fact you can get across the board so quickly, and like, wait, is he over here? Is he over there? Where's he gonna
Feel like
the way you
teleporting, but I'm just
face
fast
matters.
walking.
Yeah.
But so Halloween by Trick or Treat Studios. If you're worried about movie tie-in games and stuff, I get it. I think this is a good one.
Yeah.
I will say also on that note, Halloween 4, worst Michael Myers mask I can remember seeing in a while. It looks really bad.
Yeah, I remember. I watched the whole video of someone comparing all of them. I remember.
It's a
that.
bad one.
Yeah.
It's rough.
Great pick, Dan.
Thanks, buddy.
Number 9. So my number 9 is a little-known game, actually little-known, by Richard Lanius, who did some games that we really enjoy. But I looked at some of his other games, and this is like the one that's ranked the lowest that I saw. Fate of the Elder Gods.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't played this yet.
Yeah, and it's really neat. So it's like a area majority type of game where you're moving your cultists around from zone to zone, and everybody is trying to awaken their own elder god. But it has a really neat spell mechanism where like all these astral signs are being lined up on these locations, and you're using those to cast your spells. And it's kind of like you're building out these more powerful spells, and you have your asylum where you keep all your cultists, because that's where you keep them. And you have like the abyss. You can send people to the abyss, and it was just a really neat kind of like area majority game that just not a lot of people know about. And I think that the spell mechanism is really cool. So,
I don't know anything about this one.
That wasn't the Richard Lanius horror theme game I thought you were going to go with.
Yeah, I
it's
think-
on my honorable mention
Yes,
list.
yep.
I'll save it for later.
Yep.
For the honorable mention section.
Right. or if it's on somebody else's
Right.
list.
Sure.
All right, so my number 9 is IP adjacent to a horror movie franchise that I enjoy quite a bit, and that's the Friday the 13th franchise. So this game is Last Friday. Last Friday, similar to Halloween, where you don't know where the killer is.
Yeah.
The killer knows where you are. And last Friday was the first game I played that sort of did it in this way. It does a nice job of building up some suspense and some tension as you're running around. If you're one of the camp counselors, you're running around trying to find the objects you need, or maybe lock yourself in a cabin, things like that. But the really cool thing, though, is that in last Friday, you play through basically the first scenario, then, which maybe takes like a half an hour, and then you play again. But now it's switched. Now the counselors are trying to find
you,
the maniac, or Jason.
Sure.
And then so it kind of goes back and forth. And if you go through the whole thing, it gets to one person basically becomes the final girl, and then at the very last scenario, they are trying to kill the maniac, Jason. And I really think it's fun. It's not like the most amazing or like smoothest 1v many hidden movement game, but I feel like it does a really good job, and I appreciate what it's trying to do, and I like playing it because it invokes like those themes and
sure
and stuff.
That's one I haven't
enjoy.
played. I played a lot of hidden movement games, but that's one I haven't actually tried yet.
I think you'd like it.
Yeah.
I think you'd like it. I don't know that you would be like, that's the one, but I
Right.
think you'd be like, oh yeah, that was pretty good.
Right on.
I haven't played it either.
But I like what it does, and the player screen is really fun because there's a player screen, and it's for the killer, the maniac, and it's got like the map of the, so you can see everything, but it's also got like this spot for your eyes. And
So you can, like, look through there.
You're just like looking through there, and so like a lot of times you're like just get down if they're not paying attention, and you start staring at people through
Nice.
the thing, and
Yeah.
like, that's creepy. Quit doing it. It's super fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
But
That
it's
is a good idea.
It's a really fun take, on the genre, and a pretty decent game to boot. So
To boot.
My number 9 is my one on the list that I said isn't the super atmospheric one, but I do love the theme of it. I just think it's a really well done game, and that's The Bloody Inn by
Honorable
I
mention.
guess Pearl Games. There was I couldn't figure out which one is the current distributor
yeah,
or
I don't
publisher or
remember
whatever
who
of
it
it.
is.
Honorable mentions, too.
But that was the biggest one. But yeah, The Bloody Inn is a game where everyone's running their own inn, and guests are showing up and they're giving you money, and then you're killing them, and you're burying them. And then cops are showing up, and you're like, okay, hopefully this cop. Oh, the cop's gonna find it. I gotta kill this cop, bury this cop. Oh, now more cops are gonna show up. Oh God, I'm gonna have to kill these cops now because they're gonna find the other cop, and then stuff gets out of control.
I figured you're supposed to dig the hole first.
Yeah,
Otherwise you're digging
okay.
holes all night.
Okay. But yeah, it's just a really fun little card game where you're kind of, and I guess like a tableau game because of how you're doing your cards
Right.
and everything. But yeah, just if you haven't checked it out, it was one that
Small
interested me
box.
for a long time, and then we finally played it for the show, and I was so like, when we said, oh, we're doing The Bloody Inn today, I was literally like, yes! Like I'd been wanting to play it for so long, and it didn't disappoint. I thought The Bloody Inn was an awesome game. I like the art that's in it too.
The art is
There's-
incredible.
It is
Yeah.
such a weird style, and
It
yet
is.
it works
It works.
perfectly.
it's
Yeah, yeah.
it's like French, like it's a very specific time period.
Oh, right,
of
right.
French art.
Yeah, they say the same thing for
I'm not cultured enough to know that.
that game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
game.
I'm also not
Guillotine?
cultured enough
Yeah,
to
Guillotine. They
actually
say the
know
same
the
thing for
name
that.
I know what
of
you
that.
yeah.
I just know that it is.
It's a thing. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
uncultured.
But
heathen.
also, like a very cool thing about Bloody Inn is the multi-use cards.
Yes.
Right.
Like, do I use this card as like a room?
Like a person, yeah.
Yeah, currency.
Currency.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I love the
great game.
feeling of like you're like, oh god, cops are showing up.
I
I,
know.
don't know what I'm gonna do. But then like a cop's showing up for Bob, and you're like, idiot.
And then, yeah, when you're trying to get the guests into your rooms
Right.
too, right? And super fun things you can do with that.
Yep.
Great pick. Great, awesome game.
So my number 8 is probably one of the most unique games on my list. It's called Black Mold.
Oh, I haven't played this.
Yeah,
right
by Terrible Games. Yeah, it's back there. It's very
it's Halloween.
it's a very dark game where you're traveling through these different tunnels, and you have to hold your breath as you're playing, and you're taking your
Literally.
turns. Literally, you're like,
Yeah,
and your turn
the
lasts.
player,
Yeah,
are holding your
and
breath.
your turn lasts as long as you can hold your breath. You're trying to move and do things, and you're actually going crazy. So you have this deck of cards, and you're like flipping them over, and you have to like arrange them as you're trying to complete your actions and stuff like that. And you're losing oxygen to your head as you're trying to complete these tasks. And if you have a hard time holding your breath, you do have a sand timer that you can use
Right.
to try to even out. 'cause,
And you can do that per turn. Like it could be Bob uses the sand timer, Tim holds his breath. Like
Correct,
it's not like it
yeah.
affects every player.
Don't let Michael Phelps hold his breath, because otherwise he'd be saying like, "Are you done yet?" But no, it's just a really fun and unique twist. And it's like there's these spores, and the thing is, if you breathe the spores in, they're going to turn into like one of those things. And so yeah, that's the whole kind of concept behind the holding your breath. And it was just a lot of fun. I really want to play it again. I had a good time doing it, and Yeah, just wanna
It's
try it
like
again.
the most gimmickiest gimmick
But
ever.
it worked, though.
It works.
It was fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wasn't sure going into it, but it is a pretty standard like tile laying, you know, like
Exploration.
dungeon exploration type of game. Like,
but trying to solve puzzles while
yeah,
you're losing oxygen.
The puzzles that they
Yeah.
give you, plus that add on top, makes a unique experience that I thought was pretty cool. And if you die, you have a chance to become a mold monster or something
Yeah.
too. And so there's some cool stuff going on in there for sure.
I can dig it. I haven't played it, but it sounded cool.
Yeah, you have to check it out.
I like
Yeah.
the kind of, I don't want to call it a gimmick, but you know, sort of that.
No, I,
that
Oh,
gimmick with it.
hey man, embrace the gimmick.
yeah, it's
you know?
fun.
Yeah, I
as
don't-
long as
I
the
guess-
gimmick works, it's cool.
I guess I
there
just don't want people to take that
as
as
a
like
bad connotation
yeah,
to
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Sure.
'Cause, I mean, every game
every
should-
game has a gimmick, whether it's rolling dice or flipping cards. It's all it's a gimmick, but
Right.
it doesn't mean it's bad necessarily.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So my number 8 is probably going to be on these guys' list in some form or another.
Changing my list on the spot.
But
Yeah.
I love this game. It's got to be mentioned. The theme, the art direction is not like the most exciting on the surface, but it's so thematic. And that is Letters from Whitechapel. This
Love
game
the
looks
art.
this
So
game
good.
looks great.
Yeah.
Especially when you dig down, like if you just glanced at the board, you'd be like, eh. But once you understand what the board is and like in the way that the way everything works, you're like, oh, this is so good. It feels so thematic.
Yes.
And in Letters from Whitechapel, one person is playing Jack the Ripper, and everybody else is playing the investigators, trying to capture him.
Right.
And old Spring Hill Jack, man, he each night it basically starts at the murder. We know where the murder occurred. He moves, and then now we're all just trying to react.
Get there and react.
And Jack is trying to get back to his pre-selected hideout, right?
Yes.
And and he's got only so many turns to get back to his hideout. But he also can end the round when he gets back to his hideout. And there's 4 nights. Is it 3 nights? 4 nights?
3 nights.
3 nights.
3 so.
And it's pretty rad. This game is really good.
Yeah. It's cool because you have like carriages that you can use to go past the cops. You can do the alley cards where you can like,
Right.
or tokens where you can like cut through different alleys to get back there. And man, I've had so much tension in this game, like where you're like right next to you and they're like, well, I'm searching here. And as long as they don't do arrest, you're fine. Then they move right past you and you just like sneak right by them.
Well,
so many good times.
And that's the rough part, right? Is because the search action will tell you if he's been through there recently, right? Like
Correct.
if he crossed by.
If that number is on my locations,
Right.
I have to tell you
But-
yes or no.
round or
but
whatever.
also that search action that could
could've
be
been
that
where
could
I'm
be
at.
where he's at,
Yeah,
right? And
it's happened.
it's really fun because I've had games where we've won because it's like he's either here or here. Screw it, it's this one, and we've got him.
Yeah.
And there's been games where he was there or there, we picked the wrong one,
Yeah.
and it's still just as much like like we were so close, or you were right on me, and you didn't look, you didn't even search because you used all your actions to move. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah,
Things like
yeah.
that. There's just this really fun balance, and I think it is an excellent game. It is one of my favorite all-time, like 1v
movements.
many hidden
Yeah.
movement games. It is in the top
Same.
5, and that is a style of game that I really do love. So yeah,
When it's done
letters,
well.
letters from when it's done well. Letters from Whitechapel is my number 8.
Yep. That's a cool thematic one too because the murders happened in like late August or something, I think. Too.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's like the fall
Yep, September,
season
yeah.
too. So, maybe it was.
I think it was September.
Yeah. Okay, my number 8. Let's get some copyrighted music playing, editor. Bum bum. Bum bum. The Thing, Infection at Outpost 31. Listen, this game is a little simple, but it just doesn't matter. You're playing through that world. Every time I play this, I have the theme song playing on the TV, and yeah, is the theme song basically just 2 notes? Yeah. Do I care? No. Get that Obi meme going on.
Yeah.
So the theme's only 2 notes. Yeah. And you like that? Yeah. So it's annoying? No. The basic thing is a hidden trader game, right? So there's a thing, he can infect other things, you're trying to accomplish certain goals like getting the helicopter up and running and blah, 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 and you're trying to get the certain items that you need and win the game. Who cares? It's the thing. It's really fun. That we have the new one by Dragon. something. I can never remember that company's name. We have the new thing as well, newer. We haven't played it yet, but it looks like a slightly more complicated one. I am very interested in trying that out because, again, I do find that the only issue I have with the op version is just that it does feel very, very light. But it's to support, the point isn't the mechanics, it's the social atmosphere it's creating. It's the distrust. Again, when you watch the movie, there's not a whole lot going on. A lot is just two people in a room staring at each other. Like it's the dread that the movie, wants to give you, and that's what the game is trying to do as well. Don't give you the heavy overhead. Just say someone among you can't be trusted, and then just see what happens. And yeah, I think The Thing is a really fun, really thematic game. I like it quite a bit.
Nice.
It's really good.
Yeah. All right, my number 7. This was a game that I traded from Tim. He had it, but he didn't want to get rid of it, but he thought he would keep it in the family by trading it to me. Evil High Priest.
Yeah, you're not allowed to get rid of this game without getting it back to me first.
Yeah, no, you go first. What is it, rights of refusal?
Yeah, I'll trade you Mike's Dwellings of Eldervale for it.
There you go. So that's fair trade. By Peterson Games, though, but this is another fantastic cult type of game where you're this evil high priest and you're doing these rituals, and there's a different board for every different elder god that there is, and they've all have different types of options, and as you start to complete these rituals, it'll open up new worker placement spots for you to go, and it's great because then you have your own little sanctum that you're building on, and you keep all your items and you're stashing things, and you have your own little asylum where you're keeping your people because again, that's where you keep your cultists at. And one of the neat things is you get raided and they're coming in, so you're putting all these traps and stuff in place to try to keep all the investigators out from finding all your goodies. But then sometimes they investigate you from the backside, and then, so you have to protect both ends of your sanctum, and it's just kind of it's just really fun. I really enjoy this kind of worker placement that they have there, and I wouldn't play max player count because the board gets so tight at that point, where it's it doesn't have any it has one of the problems I have where as it increases player count, the spaces on the board stay the same, so max player count. You need
three or four players.
Yeah, because it does cap out at 5.
Yeah,
so
what's
3
it
or
called?
4
There's some action called sleuth or something though, where you can go where someone else has already been.
Well, no, there's a city action. Something you put it when basically at the end of the round you can then put your person back out to where somebody else is already.
Same thing as Waterdeep.
Yeah, but you don't get the bonus thing that comes with it. So it's a slightly weaker version of it, but you can still do that action. But yeah, no, it's really great, and it's not very well heard of. I don't think many people know about it because it's not very popular, which it should be. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a victim of low print run.
Right. Yeah. And Peterson Games kind of.
Yeah. Well, and also they just didn't put enough money in it to
market it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it is a really very good underrated game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like all the different stuff in it, because you have the main board, workplace board, then you have the ritual track or whatever it's called, and then you have the demon track or whatever it's called, then you have your crypt or whatever.
Right.
I said demons. Sorry,
yeah,
Cthulhu. It just edit me out of the video from here on out, and everyone's just this has always been a 2-person video.
So anyways.
But yeah, I really like how many just different, interesting things there are to have to manage in it for sure. That's my favorite part.
Yeah, because you do have that city board, and then the ritual board's kind of closed up, and then once you get to a certain part of the game, then you put the ritual board out, and it becomes a spot where you can go.
Right.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
Very cool.
It is very cool. All right, my number 7. Is a Reiner Knizia reprint game where you are making horror movies. I love it. It's a great auction style game, really interesting, and that is Nightmare Productions.
I forgot about this one. That's a good one.
Nightmare Productions, super fun. It is pretty much a direct re-theme. I don't believe there was any rules changes from when it was Hollywood 1948 or whatever the original one was called, 1940. It's had several iterations.
Okay.
This one, not only was interesting to me because of the horror theme, but I'd heard great things about this game for ages. Oh, now I can get a copy without killing myself, to have to,
sacrificing
try to pay for it. But yeah, and in this game, you're basically, you've got your film strips, and you're trying to get your monster and your screenwriter and your location and all these things in your film. Yeah, and they've got different star ratings, but you also can win the Razzie Award for making the worst movie. So you're building up these film strips. You're you're getting your rewards, and the gameplay is pretty fast. It's pretty straightforward, and I just think it's really cool, really fun, and I enjoy the theme quite a bit. And it's got really nice, dark kind of monster art with it as well. So Nightmare Productions is my number 7.
My number 7 is the only game on here that you guys have not played, and that is by Come On. And that's Bloodborne.
Oh yeah, I haven't played it.
Bloodborne's just really good. It's also my only Lovecraftian game.
I think I played it once at Pete's house.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay. But it's just a really good cooperative dungeon crawl game where it has branching storylines, though. It's like scenario driven, so you play the first scenario and you're going out and you have side quests that come up, and it's like, oh, take this person's safety, and if you do, that will open up and it'll take you to a new card in the deck, and that'll create a new quest line and everything. You get rewards for this, and then every time you kill a creature in the game, you get a soul token. I'm sorry, Bloodborne fans, I'm a Dark Souls guy, so they're all called souls. I think they're called Blood Echoes in Bloodborne, but they're souls. And then
is that an Eric Lang design game?
Yes,
as well?
That is an Eric Lang game. Yeah, crazy that's Eric Lang to me. But and then so you get these soul tokens, and then you can go to the Hunter's Dream, which is like a hub basically. But when you go there, it pushes the round marker up every time any player goes there. But also, that's the only way you level up your characters, by going to Hunter's Dream. So you have to balance how many times you level up per scenario that you're playing, because you might run out of time. If you get to the end of the round track and you haven't completed the main quest, you lose. So there is literally this thing of like, hey, I have enough Blood Echoes to level up, but I don't know if we can afford me going, because what leveling up does is it's basically a deck builder as well between games. So you have 12 cards in your deck, I think it is, and you play them on your turn to do certain things, to move, to attack, and everything like that. But when you go to the store, you buy more cards, and you can choose to put them in your deck or put them off to the side. And then so basically you can build up, you can have 30 cards, then every scenario you go in, you go through your 30 cards, you pick which 12 you're bringing into the scenario. And so there's just this really cool deck building thing that's going on the side too. And then the combat system is fantastic. It takes it straight from the video game, where in the video game, the big thing that Bloodborne added to the Dark Souls franchise is the trick weapons, where basically every weapon is 2 weapons. So I have like this little saw thing that I like swing around, but then I go like this and it like elongates, and now it has more range and does a different damage type or something, right? And so in the middle of combat, you're switching your weapon back and forth between types. And so in the board game, your player board is your weapon, and you're playing cards on it and taking up slots on your weapon to fight. And when it's full, you can't play any more cards on it. So what you have to do is transform your weapon by flipping it to the other side, and now you can start putting cards in it. You get all those cards back to your discard pile and everything. And so you just have this thing where you have to balance flipping your weapon back and forth. And also the weapons are asymmetric. Like, so not only are all our weapons different, but also when I flip it over, its stats and everything change because it's a trick weapon. There's so much going on in this game that is just awesome. I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was gonna be just another IP cash in, even though it was CMON and Eric Lang. I was just like, especially the Dark Souls game, I like a lot. It's not a great board game. It just really does feel like Dark Souls. They did a cool job with that, but as a board game, it falls a little flat. Bloodborne does not at all. Bloodborne is a fantastic board game that I really recommend. And there's so much going on. I always feel like every time I talk about Bloodborne, I have to talk like 5 times longer than all my other games, because I'm like, it's so complicated. There's so much going on. But just, if you have a chance, try it out. It's really good.
Number 6. So my number 6, I've played this game quite a bit, but there are some quick start rules that I am anxious to try out to see if it can shorten it, because it can get a little,
I know it is.
Run a little long. By Plaid Hat Games, this is Abomination: The Heir to Frankenstein. This is a great worker placement game, and it's so thematic. Like, I love the fact that you're balancing your humanity with your expertise and your popularity, and you're trying to attract new workers. And then you're going to get I need some resources. And what are resources? Bone, blood, muscle. All the things you need to build a body. And it's so just gruesome. And then as you're shocking these things to life to get some movement on them, depending on what types of you can also use animal parts.
Yeah.
Tim.
Hey.
Tiger, 80% tiger blood.
Listen, totally worked.
It's a legit strategy. But it's just, you're rolling these dice and you're trying to shock these things to bring them to life, and you're getting points depending on how fresh your ingredients are, and it's it's super thematic. Like I just really enjoy this game. There's all these different locations you can go to. You can go to teach people how to do different types of stuff, like a lecture to get like more contracts, or like not necessarily contracts, but like skill cards and things like that. You can go to church to try to bring, help your humanity out. You can go to the hospital to help out to gain stuff. You can go to more
the perception of your humanity.
Sure, the perception. Yeah, sure. But no, it's fantastic. Like if you like, it's very on theme. We'll say.
It is. It is. It's an honorable mention for me. But again, what really makes that game cool and sets it aside from every other one is the actual building and assembling of your body.
Yeah.
And then as you are
because you have a muscly arm, then you could put some skin on it, and then
Right.
you're shocking it to bring it, animate it, and you have this arm just kind of wiggling.
Well,
there.
it doesn't actually wiggle.
It does. Well, yeah, if you take it and do it like this.
Fair.
The thing that sets the game aside for me is the fact that if you're desperate and you need bodies, you can go to the dead bodies, and the resources aren't as good because they're dead, but you get them. Or in a pinch, you can just go murder someone.
Yeah.
And then it's fresh.
Yeah,
Like,
they're super fresh parts. Yeah.
I'll say, as far as like the theming for like this season goes, this might be like the number one. Its theming is done perfectly for sure. It's a great
really
game with a rough playtime.
Right, so that's what I'm saying. I want to try out those quick start rules a little bit, see if it does, because it can run like 2 hours pretty easily.
Yeah.
And if you have anybody
And
with
it's
AP,
a
it's probably gonna
crunchy
be
2 hours. Is
Yeah.
the
It is.
problem.
It is a very crunchy 2 hours. I have a good time playing it.
Right.
There is a game that similar theme that has bumped it. For
Okay.
Me
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is on my list.
Sure.
But yeah, that's still a great pick.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I love all of these so far. Even Bloodborne, like I've been wanting to play.
Yeah,
but
I only played the
play
one,
so
so I didn't get to do like the whole have the cards on the
Yeah,
side and
level
pick
up
the
the
12
deck
you
stuff
want.
and
That,
everything.
and I really enjoy that kind of stuff.
You really
so.
feel different pick. You really feel the different play styles too. Like, oh
Sure.
man, your deck does something totally different than mine, kind of
Yeah.
thing. It's cool.
Awesome.
All right, so my number 6 is like the only one that I wouldn't like turn off the lights.
Okay,
But
sure.
this is horror themed, but it is like raucous good time. And that is The Terror Below, which is basically Tremors.
It is
You mentioned
Tremors.
this
Game.
last time we did
Yeah,
something
I almost picked that up the
similar.
other day for relatively cheap. Too.
And this game's just fun.
It is.
Tremors is a fun horror movie.
Yeah.
It's kind of a horror comedy.
it is
Oh,
a horror
for
comedy
sure.
for sure.
You know,
Yeah.
but it's just like but this board game does a really good job of sort of capturing that, right? Because you're laughing as like stuff is just kind of going everywhere.
Come
and
out
it's
of the
just-
ground and-
It's just kind of wild, you
Yeah.
know, and you're setting, you know, you're triggering, you know, like with the noise and the cards you play, you're triggering
Right.
basically where the worms are going to pop up and attack. But you can also kind of set up your opponents, right, so that they're going to get hit with the debris as they pop up, and then you're driving around trying to clear stuff out,
Collect
and
eggs and
get
stuff.
eggs
Yeah.
and things like that. And so this game is legitimately fun to play. Anyways, it has some fun like set collection, and you can get some really crazy items that might affect the balance, but I usually don't care because I'm just having so much fun playing the damn game that it doesn't. It's not like if I was playing it for 2 hours and it was very crunchy and it felt unbalanced, that would be upsetting.
Sure.
But in an
It's like
hour,
60 to 90 minutes.
yeah, hour and a half game, and we're all cackling anyways as like crazy things are happening. Like I don't care. Like I'm having a good time. But The Terror Below for me is sort of an underrated game as well. But you know, Tremors, staple of my childhood, and this board game just really
Graboids.
it hits all the right feels right there. So
Okay, my number 6. One of, if not my favorite hidden movement game, and that is Letters from Whitechapel.
Nice.
It's
I knew it'd be on the
fantastic.
list.
Yeah.
I knew it'd be on
It's-
the other
It's
list.
so good. I love the art. I know it gets bashed on sometimes, but it's just so thematic.
They
with
are
the,
wrong.
The
They are.
ink paper look and the map looking like a, map.
Like from then.
What?
Yeah.
Well, that's why I said it's easy to sort of dismiss, like at a
Right.
glance.
Right.
But you sit down and you play it, and you're like,
Right.
oh.
It doesn't look that way out of like laziness. It looks that way because of
purpose.
theme.
Yeah.
Like, and yeah, it's now I will say honorable mention as well to Whitehall Mysteries.
Right.
Because Whitehall Mysteries, it plays less people, but it plays much faster. So if you can't get to that, 6-player count or whatever for Letters from Whitechapel, or if you don't have 2 hours that it could take, or hour and a half, 2 hours, Whitehall Mystery plays in a solid 40 minutes
Or
and
5
that's-
minutes.
I was gonna say, and that's if Jack wins. And they're both fantastic.
Yes.
Whitehall Mystery is also a lot cheaper. So yeah, again, whichever one you get, you'll like. They have a similar feel. Whitechapel is just deeper, more complicated, and to me a more engaging game overall. But I've played Valhalla Mystery way more times, so you know, there's push
It's
and pull.
easier to get the table.
Exactly. So either one of those is fantastic, but yeah, I love the theme. Again, the story of Jack the Ripper is just a fascinating one. I watch there's a documentary on YouTube by Let Me Know. It's like Let Me Know, but without the T and with an M instead. If you're interested in that kind of stuff, it is one of the best like documentaries I've ever seen. He does such a great job with his documentaries on YouTube. And again, just if you really want to learn that story, it's just a really interesting story, and I think the game does a really good job of getting you in that universe and just really like not glorifying what he did, but just showing it. You know, like I think it does a really good job. And Letters from Whitechapel is a fantastic hidden movement game that's a little clunky, and I don't care.
All right, so number 5. My Father's Work by Renegade Games is fantastic. It's so creepy. You have a creepy meter, right? Because as you're doing these, you know, it's worker placement, and as you're doing these creepy studies and experiments, you get creepier. And, you know, if you're too creepy, you can't go to town because people are like, that guy's a creep. And it's just, it's fantastic. And
Your
then,
wife will leave you.
Your wife will leave you. That's right.
And you lose a worker because she's a worker.
She is, yeah. You can put her to work, yeah. But even your land keeper, he's creepy. He can't go to town either unless you buy the outfit for him, and then he can go to town because he's dressed well enough.
Caretaker guy's always a weirdo.
He is.
He's just like, yeah, take care of the thing. It's just like, yeah, how about you stay here?
Yeah. But you have your own estate that you're working on, and then there's a book of maps, and then as you're playing through the different scenarios, like you're giving these different like quests that you're supposed to do, and then depending on how well you do them, you're going to flip to a different page when it goes to the next act. And while your estate stays the same and you're still working on that, what happens in town and what the town map looks like changes from
your
act
worker
to act.
Your worker placement places change, and what I love is it doesn't matter what you do, it's what everybody does as a group.
Yes.
Because there was a game where we played where like I had really hit that mission really hard and nobody else did. And it was like, well, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
You know, and there's multiple endings to the scenarios.
Yes. I think there's 3 scenarios that are included in the box, but each one of those scenarios has all these different branching paths, and there's just this book of maps, and like I just want to see more of them. I want to play it more. Which is why it's ahead of Abomination, because I haven't got to play it as much, but I still really enjoy it. The components are amazing.
The components are so dang
oh my gosh,
good.
they're so good. And so it's beautiful. Even though all the art's great, box art's fantastic.
Yeah, it's really good.
It was well done.
Yep. I just haven't played it enough. I think I've only played it twice. I mean, if I had played it more, it would be number 1.
Yeah.
I agree with them. I recommend it as well if you can get your hands on it, if you can try it. It is an amazing game. For such a deep story game, I don't have enough knowledge about it to put it on this for you guys yet, but honorable mention for sure. Fantastic game.
Yeah, so like if you've watched the show for a while, or if you've been unfortunate enough to hang out with Bob and I, you know sometimes we share a brain. My number 5 is My Father's Work. I did not change anything. That was my number 5 from the go. You were like, oh, well, the game that supplanted it. I'm like, everything Bob said. This game, the production value in this game is...
What happened?
Production value in this game is off the charts. One of the goofy things that I really enjoy, though, is the ring that you put on. Like, so there's... you have a way to denote...
who you are, what player you are.
Yeah, what player you are, but then... Who is your caretaker?
Right.
Which miniature is your
wife? Who's your spouse? Who's your caretaker?
Right.
Yes.
And so you can mix all of those up. I made my wife in one era like the ugly, like
the caretaker,
just to be funny about it, you know. And again, though, right? You play through 3 different generations. The way the board changes, the story, the thematic, you know, like it just feels so good. It's so solid and a really fun worker placement, like contract fulfillment.
Yeah.
You know, kind of thing. And you can do your own thing. You can ignore that suggested goal and see what happens.
See what happens.
But yeah, just this game does everything right for me. It is a little bit of a longer game, but it feels so involved. It's really interesting. And if you're bored, just play with all the badass components you've got in front of you. It's really good.
Yeah.
Dan, what would your number 5 be?
Not that one. Because I just
cool.
said I haven't played it enough personally.
Yeah.
my number 5 has already been mentioned. We're finally getting into the crossovers, and that is Betrayal at House.
That's a good one. It's an
I
honorable
talk about
mention.
it every year whenever we talk about this kind of stuff. It's just a great game, guys. Is it balanced? No. Is it fun? Yes. And that's all I care about. I tell this story every time, but for all our new viewers, we have quite a few new viewers here. One time we discovered, so again, there's 40 haunts in the game. There's a second book that came out with an expansion. So there are 80 haunts in the game. I think it's 40 each. It's like 30 each, 40 each, 50 each, something like that.
Yeah.
So let's say there's about 80 haunts in the game. I've played the game so many times. I've had to have played this game close to like 60 times. And I think I've only played the same haunt twice once. Like, there's just so many options on which room you activate it in, with which thing that you activate it causes a certain person to be the bad guy, because the main point of the game is you level up your character, eventually somebody becomes a bad guy, and then, you know, asymmetric goals all of a sudden. But the story that I always tell is I discovered one time, just because of playing random haunts, that there is a haunt in the game that's like Saw, where basically everyone wakes up with a collar around their neck, and there are keys hidden around the mansion, and one of us has a fake collar, and they are actually the bad guy, and they're trying to slow us down and not let us get the collars off our necks. And I discovered that, we played it, and it was super fun, and I said, I am making this an experience. And so I had my brother, I rewrote the intro, because the intro to the scenario is like a hello explorers, like welcome to the mansion, like a Saw tape, and I rewrote it a bit to make it a little more interesting, and then I had my brother do his best impression to like a hello explorers, like that kind of thing, and then I edited it in audio software to make it sound exactly like Saw. And then next time we played with a group of friends, I set it up to where we played that scenario. I can't remember if I purposely had a certain room or if I just lied and set up a scenario that we didn't actually activate, because I have the rule book. And so I actually took out an audio tape recorder and I set it down on the table and I hit play, and the theme song is playing in the background, da-na-na, da-na-na, and it's going, hello explorers, I want to play a game. And it's like doing all that. And it's one of my favorite experiences I've ever had, because again, did we have like this crazy balanced hardcore experience? No, but everyone had a fantastic time in a room with this game, trying to play Saw with the music playing in the background. So yes, Betrayal House on the Hill is fantastic. Check it out.
I mean, come on, man. Like, any game, anybody that gets enjoyment out of a game and loves it, awesome, right? People bag on Betrayal House on the Hill all the time, and I'm just like, I have almost always had a super fun, fantastic time. Sure, you can get stuck into some that are like, well,
yeah, exactly.
And it also depends on the players too. But to come away with an experience like that, right? I mean, like, you're gonna tell that story the rest of your life, because
I still have the recording.
It was super fun. You know what I mean? Like, what a cool thing, you know, and like, it's just the thing I love about board games. Yep. So anybody that wants to comment and be like, well, Betrayal sucks, like, that's fine.
Yeah, I get it too. There are other games that I'm like, no, that game's too simple, I don't like it. So I get or like, I don't think that game's balanced, I don't like it. I get it. I have the same complaints about other games. It's just that for some reason, this one works with the mechanics that it has for me.
Yeah.
You have at least 4 other games that you
yeah.
Well.
Which takes me to number 4. By Trick or Treat Studios, Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Nice. I haven't played that one.
It was so much fun, and then we added the Slaughterhouse rules to it, where you have to pull, if you pull a Leatherface token, and that added so much theme and so much fun. Because like normally you're pulling, and you're like, oh, I got a Leatherface. Ooh, he's right behind me. I'm gonna stop. No. He's not gonna stop chasing you. If you pull a Leatherface token, and he's right behind you. He's gonna keep chasing you.
You're gonna draw
have
again.
to pull. You gotta add that rule in. It adds so much to the game. It was so much fun. I borrowed it from Tim the other day. Got it played that same day. Just tells me I'm about to go out and get my own copy, because anytime I'm able to do that, like, it just means I should have my own copy of this game. And it's fantastic. We had a lot of fun playing it. Now, when we played it, we played not quite as difficult as we did that last time, and it was pretty simple for us. So I definitely feel like adding the objectives in.
For us, we need to have the objectives in there, because it's fun, but it's not hard.
Right, and you want that challenge. You want to have to go from here. Oh crap! Now I have to go all the way over to the cemetery. Oh, now I have to come get into the house and go upstairs. You know, and that just adds that difficulty where he's coming after that chainsaw.
Because this one is against an AI.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's,
Your
it's still
bag
fun.
building.
Yeah, your
but
bag
the bag
building.
it's like the Clank bag though. You don't want any. You don't
you
want
to be pulling from that bag anymore than you have to.
Yeah, I really want to play this. I haven't played it
Yeah,
yet.
it's really good.
I will say that's a movie series. Doesn't mean anything to me, but I'm
Yeah.
excited. For
I
the
did
game.
watch the.
I like the first two quite a bit. You
Yeah, I
the
watched
original.
the original one 2 days ago, I think it was, and like I kept seeing all these little bits, and I'm like, oh, yeah. It's
Well, and
good.
it really, when you play the game,
Uh-huh.
like you'll
You
see
get those feelings.
Like the game does a really good job of really capturing that IP
It does.
and everything. But yeah, good pick. My number 4 is based off of one of my all-time favorite horror movies, with a amazing soundtrack, and it is. Infection at Outpost 31. The Thing.
I mean, that one's a crossover with me too.
That's my favorite John Carpenter movie. It is one of my all-time favorite horror movies. I love Kurt Russell in that movie. I love the practical effects in that movie. I love the.
Why do you hate dogs, Tim?
Oh God.
Well,
I love
can you
dogs.
see? Have
So
you seen what they're capable of?
Yeah, seriously. Seriously. Have you ever seen a man's head fall off, sprout spider legs, and then like?
Yeah, that was all
fall
because the
away?
dog.
Fleas, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that movie is. That movie's terrifying. I love the. You can't trust anybody. You don't know, right? Even in that movie, when you get to the end, you still don't know. But in the game, it really the level of distrust. I had my brother-in-law like swearing at me, calling me a liar, only to pick the. And I wasn't lying.
Yeah.
Only to pick the wrong person.
It was the thing.
And then made him lose the game.
Yeah.
And it's like it's kind of like Dan's Saw story. It's like I will never not tell that story when
Yeah.
we're talking about the Thing. And I love this game. It's not the most complicated, but it really captures that theme and that distrust with the social deduction without just being like werewolf or like, oh, Dan shifted while I have my eyes closed. He must be a werewolf. Like, no. This like you have to take people. You know, they're specialists, you know, to go on certain missions.
They gotta
and it's
go.
like, I don't really want to take them because they might throw in those bad cards.
You can trust me.
Or you know that, like, I already know that Dan doesn't trust Bob, but I'm actually the bad guy, and so Dan's gonna take me and Bob.
Right.
So then I throw the bad card. Bob's gonna get blamed for it.
It wasn't me.
And it's like super fun.
Yeah.
You know, I really enjoy this game.
I need to play it more.
Ares Games did it first, and then the Op did the reprint. I haven't played the
Okay.
reprint, but I think they streamlined some stuff in the reprint.
Oh yeah, I never played the original, so opposite problem.
So, but anyways, I think it's a really good game. I will play either version. Like, I wouldn't care at all. Like, let me play. Let's go. Higher player count with this one, I think, definitely
okay.
serves you better.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it more distrust.
Yeah.
But yeah, more paranoia.
My number 4. It's honestly amazing how low it is to me after all these years. Nemesis by Awakened
yeah.
Realms. And
Honorable
I
mention.
am actually going to say Nemesis and not Nemesis Lockdown here. Nemesis Lockdown, I think, is a better game. There's just more interesting stuff going on. It's basically the sequel, so it better be better. You know, that's just, you've had time to work on it. But if you're going for the Halloween spooky feeling of dread and everything, I think the first one does it better. The second one feels more like, I don't know, it just feels more like
Aliens
Doom.
versus Alien.
Like, it just feels more like you're a guy with a gun on a space base and there's powers going out and stuff. The first one is Alien the movie. You are going through a ship. You have no idea what's going on. You are very poorly armed. And there are noises coming from the corridors and you don't know what's happening. And it is a game that if you build up the atmosphere, if you build up, play some music, you know, dim the lights a bit and everything. We played Lockdown the other day, and Levi realized the other day, it was like weeks ago, Levi realized that he should turn all the lights red in our game room because we have, like, you know, LED lights that change color. And so we made all the lights like red when we were like going through a Nemesis Lockdown, like feeling like that kind of thing. But then it was really funny because we realized when we drew all the infection cards in our hands, you could just read them because it has that old mechanic where you have like the blue letters covered with red and you have to use the thing. But it turns out if all the lights are red, you can just read them.
cards.
So that was really funny when we realized that. But yeah, just so you can really build that atmosphere, and I think the first one lends itself to that slightly more. So if you're going in for the creepy alien feeling atmosphere, I do think the first one's better. There's also just way more stuff out for the first one, more maps and characters, stuff like that. If you're going for the purely better game, I think Lockdown has that one down pat. But regardless, Nemesis by Awakened Realms is my number 4.
So it brings us to number 3. Unfathomable.
Yeah,
by
honorable
Fantasy
mention.
Flight. Yeah, so it's a remake of the Battlestar Galactica, and I think it does a good job with it. Like it
does.
You're on this big boat, and you're just trying to get to your destination, and these deep ones are popping up and getting on the boat, and you're trying to keep everything working and running and manage your food and your people and your gas. And then as the boat is moving, all the monsters are like going
Sliding
down the
back,
side
yeah.
because it's just simulating the boat, trying to get past them. And I think that's done really well. And I love how like you're trying to complete these quests and stuff, and everybody's turning in these cards, and you're shuffling them up, and you're flipping them over, and you're like, people are going against you. You're trying to figure out who the heck it was, and I just think that they did a good job with that, and I really want to play it some more. I got my copy still in Shrink. We played Tim's copy 3 or 4 times
bunch.
at least.
Yeah, I played my copy a bunch.
Yeah, and I want to get to the table and play that one because I did really enjoyed it. So.
It is a really great game. It is a great update of a more popular version. The Battlestar Galactica. The people that love Battlestar Galactica are always going to love it.
Yep.
And that's fine because it is one of the first games that I played where it really, really, really captured the feel of the show and the IP. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So Battlestar did it great. Unfathomable streamlines it a bit. But it also is now you can get it without having to sell your house to buy it.
Right.
Exactly.
But again, I mean, they do a great job with it. It wasn't like they just slapped it on. I feel like the theme actually makes sense,
Right.
and with some of the
How
characters,
it's working,
and the
yeah.
way that it works, and yeah, it blew our minds. I remember we sat down to play it, and it's like, and we saw like, oh, we moved the ship forward.
moves.
And all the deep ones moved back.
Yeah,
a
we're like,
space.
oh, that's
Like,
similar.
it's
They're really
trying
good.
to-
Yeah.
What a
Other
cool
way.
way to
they're trying to
represent
swim
that.
up to catch back up to us.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was really neat.
realized I have no Lovecraftian themed games on my list.
Wow.
At
Well,
all.
I mean, technically, I don't either. That's why I said Bloodborne, because like, Bloodborne is like, if you know, you know.
Yeah.
but yeah, me neither.
But great pick, man.
Thanks.
Great pick.
Yeah, again, I'm sorry to bring the mood down a bit, but my problem is fantastic game, great pick and everything. It's just that when I'm playing Unfathomable, I feel like I'm playing the B version of something I love. Like
Sure.
it's like you can watch Jaws and then you can watch Deep Blue Sea, and you can like Deep Blue Sea. I kind of like Deep Blue Sea, but like, it's not Jaws.
That's because you really love Battlestar Galactica.
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying. I'm not trying
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
discount Unfathomable. It is a great re-implementation. It's just every time I'm playing, I'm just like, man, I could literally
These could be
playing
Cylons.
Battlestar Galactica right now. Like,
And
And Cylons aren't horror themed.
I mean, have you seen them?
Yeah, right. But I do feel like if you've never played BSG,
Of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
Unfathomable is going to do the job.
Yeah,
Yep.
great entrance
It's
for
gonna,
sure.
It's
Like,
going to do the job.
You
And
won't
then-
even know you're missing.
Yeah, but then you'll go and play Battlestar, and if you love Battlestar is also really aided by knowing the show.
Right.
You don't have to.
Yeah, you don't have to.
You
don't
but
have to.
it's
But when you
true.
do-
But if you, yeah,
Again, just the fact that one time I was playing Battlestar Galactica and I was Guy as Baltar, and I started as innocent, halfway through the game stayed innocent, and then one of the Cylons handed me a card that was innocent. And so I'm sitting there with like
All these
7
cards.
as Guy as Baltar, and everyone's like, you cannot trust that man. I'm just like, I'm not a bloody Cylon.
I'm not.
It's so good. Anyway, Unfathomable is great though.
Yeah, thanks.
but it does create like a similar experience. But Battlestar, yeah.
Yeah.
My number 3 is based on a movie franchise that I like the first 2 quite a bit, and then after that, whatever. And that is Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
The bag building in this
Yes.
game is super fun because when you're moving around, you're taking tokens off the board
Right.
and you're
Adding
adding
them.
them. They're going to get added to the bag. Well, they get added to this tray first.
Yeah. The barbecue tray.
and then if you want to, you have to do at least one, but to do additional actions, you're drawing from this
Because there's
bag.
some good stuff in the bag.
There's good things, right? It gives you more actions. You can do more stuff. But there's bad things like
Lots of-
activating the family members, right?
Yeah.
Like filling up the family member board because then the hitchhiker shows up, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And then the cook, and grandpa and stuff. And you've tried, like the game was fun, but easy. And then we started adding in the objectives and then the slaughter mode.
Yes.
And the game just went whoop, like way, way better for us. But I really thought it was cool because I think that people that, if they're struggling and having a harder time, you can play what we would call the easy version of the game. And you know, you might feel good because you're able to, you know, feel competitive and be able to beat it. And then as you want,
you can increase the difficulty as you want.
You can increase the difficulty. Like for us, we got there very quickly. I don't think that's a knock on the game. I think that is because we play a lot
of these games,
difficult co-ops, and tend to work pretty well together and are good at strategizing this kind of stuff. But man, super fun. Really enjoy the theme, the look of it, the disgusting bag, the hideous bag.
Yeah, it looks like it's sewn out of skin. Yeah.
Yeah, and so because after every token that you've revealed, basically is then going to get added to the bag for the next player. And so you're just making this bag worse and worse, you know, as the game goes. Because while you are adding good things, you're also adding a ton of bad things.
Right.
So super fun. The events also can really screw you. Like the events can be really tough.
Yep.
And
you can push people in front of the truck.
Yeah, that's
Eventful.
fun to do.
Yeah.
That's fun to do. But yeah, it's really cool. It's tense because, yeah, Leatherface just chasing you around the whole map.
Yeah.
It's a really good time.
Nice. Good pick.
That's my number 3.
My number 3. We're in the top 3, boys. My number 3 is... Court of the Dead Mourner's Call by Project Raygun is a area control hand management drafting.
What is scarier than trying to rule hell while everybody's distracted?
What's scarier than Dan with 100% win rate?
That doesn't happen, baby. I don't know what it is. I never want to play the game again.
I left this game off because I talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
But
well, that's funny because I just don't feel like it gets talked about enough.
We just need to play this damn game again. I think we should just re-up and do a review.
No.
We should just play this and The Thing. Just make for a good day.
We do need like a Halloween day or something.
Yeah, we do.
Like a spooky game day, not even necessarily Halloween. But yeah, there's so much going on, and I will be honest as well. It's been so long since we've played this that like not all the mechanics are fresh in my mind. I just know I have loved this game every time I've played it. It is an unsung hero in this hobby. Like no one talks about it.
I think people see that big box and the price. They're kind of like, haven't heard anything about it.
They see a giant box with an expensive price and like miniatures stuff too, right? Because there's like cool miniatures, but they're just your area control markers.
You want to talk about like well-produced games like we do with My Father's Work
has that same feeling. Where you have metal coins that come for in your thing. Just
and
for
this is more accessible than My Father's Work. This is easier
to find,
and faster. I don't know, easier to find, but it plays faster. It's easier to teach, I think.
Okay.
Just crazy production. The board has like the river Styx on it, and it's like
shimmery.
It's like what's that B word? Can't think of it right now. Like embossed or whatever.
Yeah,
but to where like only the water shimmers throughout the map and everything.
Embossed.
There's just there was a
there's bees in there.
There was a B word I was looking for. Settled.
Badass.
So yeah, Court of the Dead Mourner's Call. When you see this box and you see for that. Gorgeous art, but maybe you're like, you see that box, the big square box, you see the dark art on it, you see that maybe it's a miniatures game, and you see that price tag, you go, nah, just pick it up and look at it. Just pick it up and look at the back of the box. I promise you, this game has so much to offer people, and it is just no one talks about it. I have never heard anyone talk about it other than our group.
I have made my mind up. We need to do an updated video just because it's been years. That was an early video that we did, and I would love to have a review of it with our current quality of production and everything, because I really think we could do that a little bit more justice this time around.
One of the things I would say about that is like when I first saw the box and I saw like the logo on it and everything, I thought Warhammer.
It does look Warhammer,
and I thought and the first thing that popped in my mind was I'm gonna have to assemble this, and I don't do assembly, so I didn't. I said no, but then we played. I was like, oh my gosh, this is awesome, and then luckily I have access to a copy if I want to play it.
Right? Yeah, you do.
But yeah, it was fun.
So good. It is so good.
Apart from the whole Dan winning thing.
Yeah, that part sucks. Huge flaw.
Huge flaw in this game.
Let's move on.
So then, moving on to number 2. Letters from Whitechapel.
Yeah.
It's
it's good. It's on all the lists.
It's fantastic.
You got sloppy thirds though.
Yeah.
That just means I'm smart because
Bob has never complained about that.
No, it's one of my favorite hidden deduction games, or hidden movement games.
Yep.
I just love playing Jack and just trying to outwit and just that whole cat and mouse. Man, I love it. It's a great time, and it's them trying to catch me, and that's just one of my favorite things about it.
Well,
And-
I mean, maybe you should let other people try to be caught.
but see, I've done that, and like, so I remember when Pat was, we let Pat be Jack, and it was literally the second turn. I was like, IRS tier, and he's like, you got me. And I was like, okay, well, can I be Jack now? So I mean, like, I'm just saying.
you keep pronouncing jerk weird.
Yeah.
You're missing a letter.
This was
there.
Bob 2 minutes before he did that.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
I love the idea of hidden deduction, by the way.
Hidden deduction.
I'm like, God, is Bob thinking right now? I can't tell.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, it's a great game. Everything, it's already been said, but it's fantastic. So
Yeah, it's great. It is great. So my number 2 is sort of on a similar vein, and I use that pun intended. I don't think I've played this game with you guys. And that is Fury of Dracula. I don't think I've played this with you guys.
yes, we played it once at Pete's house.
Okay.
I've still never played it.
And that was the only time I played.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we might have played
That
second
was,
edition, not
it
third
was
edition.
second edition, yes. It was
'Cause
ages ago.
Third edition cleans up the combat, which is
Okay.
nice. But this game is really neat because you are trying. I mean, you are basically either one of the people trying to hunt
Van
down
Helsing,
Dracula,
yeah.
or you're Dracula, and you are trying to. There's like this weird kind of push and pull where there's times where it's good for Dracula to attack, and there's times where he has to run. And so you're kind of like balancing it. But then the thing that kind of sets us apart from the other ones is that Dracula's leaving traps in the towns where he goes. And so you're going to all these towns and you're searching where you think he is, but also, am I ready? Can I take this? Because it may not be that bad. It could be, nothing, you know what I mean? But also it could be like pretty bad. Then you're laid up. And it's really fun. The map is really interesting because it's like Europe. And so Dracula can only cross water like at certain times, you know what I mean? It takes damage. There's all kinds of really interesting like things to it to sort of make this game feel really tight. And that map, even though it's huge, starts to feel really small,
Yeah.
At times. Sort of like Letters from Whitechapel and stuff where you're like, oh, it's really tight, going through here. But the nice thing though is that when you start to get cornered as Dracula, well, I'm attacking, let's go, right? And you set up for that. And so it just does a lot of things that I really well. It is one of the earlier, versions of this game, of that mechanic, and that style. But the re-implementation, third edition, like I said, it streamlines some stuff. Combat becomes a little bit easier. I do think combat's kind of interesting because there's sort of almost a rock, paper, scissors sort of thing with the cards. Like this counters this counters this, this counters that, right? So you're trying to gauge like when's a good time to play.
Okay.
And then at any time, like Dracula could like flee. You know what I mean? So as long as you don't play the card that counters that, he's
gone.
But there's again that mind game there too. Even
Yeah, it's been a long time since I played that.
so we'll have to do that one again because it's pretty good. But Fury of Dracula is my number 2.
Yeah, I'm interested. It's also interesting that has that seems to be something you like because it does the same thing as last Friday, basically, where there's like a push-pull, where I'm not always on the defensive and you're not always on the offensive.
Yeah, it just changes it up a little bit, and you don't. It doesn't because Letters from Whitechapel, right?
Right.
Somebody like, oh, I'm Jack.
I'm always running, you're always hunting.
That's it.
Yeah, and it does it great, but I'm just saying it's interesting that...
Yeah,
Right.
it just kind of gives you a little
Changes it
variety
up.
there.
Yeah.
My number 2 will not be on either person's list, and that's absolutely okay. I might get one honorable mention. The thing that's really impressive is this is this company's only game. And that's the Pandemonium Institute, and that's Blood on the Clock Tower. It's just the best social deduction game ever made. It has a fantastic world and theme built around it. If you actually like read into the rule book and stuff, and it explains some stuff, and then also just the artwork that they took with it. But it just has a really interesting Halloweeny, spooky theme where basically we are a village. A demon has killed the town storyteller, and now the storyteller, I guess the theme is basically we are recounting the events through the storyteller's book, and so now you're it's a hidden deduction game at that point. There's an evil team and a good team, and the good team needs to Dang it. You got me. You got me. You son of a gun. It's a deduction hidden game where, you know, the good team needs to kill the demon needs to be one of the last people alive. Classic, but it just does it in such an interesting way. I love the abilities. I will say the one negative I have to Blood on the Clocktower now is just that I've played it so many times that I just don't want to play Trouble Brewing anymore. Like, it's
Which
to
is
the
the
point.
introductory
Yeah, it's like the
scenario.
introductory version, basically. The game ships with 3 versions, and they all have different play styles, all different roles. Like, each version has like 24-ish roles or something. So you don't know. So it's narrowed down to, you know, one of these 24 roles will be in this game, but you don't know which roles are in the game, right? You don't have to worry about 80 roles. But yeah, and so it has gotten to the point now to where people are like, hey, we're playing Blood on the Clocktower, and I'm like, what version? They say Trouble Brewing. I'm just like, I'll just do something else. I've done it so many times, it just feels a little light now. So Levi and I have been talking because we have actually been doing Blood on the Clocktower like once a month on Fridays, trying to get that going. And so we are talking about starting to implement the experimental characters at least and start getting some interesting stuff going on there for us because we've just played so much. But Blood on the Clocktower is a super thematic, fun social deduction game. It genuinely breaks my heart whenever I hear people say they like tried it once and didn't like it because it just blows my mind.
Well, I will say that
you did Trouble Brewing, and your first character that you had was a boring character too, so just bad.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a game though that like really your experience with it is so dependent on other factors. at times.
Well, it's super dependent on the storytelling.
Gotta have a great
And then
storyteller.
also the play group. You know, you'll play with the play group. You're just like, I didn't really mesh with those people very well, and that can ruin those games. For
And
sure.
it's like it seems like if somebody doesn't know how to play a role correctly too, that could have a big dampening effect.
Yeah, for sure.
Have
And
you
that's
guys,
also
have you guys
storyteller.
tried the social deduction version or only the hidden deduction?
No, just the
hidden
deduction.
So you haven't played Clud on the Block Tower yet, then?
I haven't. I haven't.
Just checking.
It was an honorable mention.
No, but it is kind of interesting because that is one of your all-time favorite games, and it is interesting that you've gotten to the point now where it's like, oh, Trouble Brewing.
Yeah, well, it feels good that I've played the game that many
No, it's great.
times.
It's
you
great.
know? But yeah, it's an introductory version for a reason. You know, all the rules are very basic.
Yes.
And everything, and you know, I've played them all. Is the interesting
Well-
thing. Like if I go into like Bad Moon Rising, I haven't played half those characters. So even if I don't like the character so much, I have not personally experienced it yet. And in Trouble Brewing, I've played every character 4 times.
I think though with a good storyteller who's set up well can take one of the more complicated or advanced scenarios with a relatively fresh group of people and still
Make it work.
create a good experience. But you really need a deft hand at work in that book.
There's two huge things I think that people will crap on sometimes depending on your group and everything, but I just think are super important. The first one is, again, I'm all about atmosphere, and if you're going to play a game like Blood on the Clocktower, I think an atmosphere should be built around it. When I used to do it, I actually have only story told in real life one time. Since we started playing, there's been so many other people that wanted to do it. But when I story told digitally, I always had a script written out ahead of time where I say like, you know, welcome to Ravenswood Bluff. The clock strikes midnight as the rain falls, and I have like a prologue basically that I read to people, like that I've written and I read, and I think that getting them in that mindset. When I was on Discord, I had a thunderstorm playing in the background because you can do that on Discord channels. I just had that so that wherever people were, they heard a thunderstorm playing quietly in the background. I just think that getting that theme helps people get into it so much. Even people that aren't super into it, they're just like, oh, okay, I see like the environment you're trying to create here. And the second thing is, for God's sakes, I understand that people hate it, but when you're playing with a bunch of new players, pick the characters.
Yes.
Say this person is going to be this.
Yes.
Don't do it random, which I understand is the rules, and I understand that makes it more interesting for people that are advanced, because an advanced player might be, oh, well, clearly Bob isn't the fortune teller because it's his first game. The storyteller wouldn't do that. I get that. I don't care. Give a character, especially if it's someone you know, like I can look at Bob and say, Bob will like this character, and give him that character. I can look at Bob and say, Bob's going to find the game extremely boring if he's the soldier, and this is his first time playing the game. I don't think you were the soldier, but I'm just saying, like, that kind of stuff, I just think is super important to get people into a game like that. And anyway, that's
I agree with you. I think that, again, really tinkering to create a very specific experience, because I mean, really, if you think about it, the storyteller, the rest of the game, what are they doing? They are controlling,
making the rules,
trying to keep it balanced.
controlling to keep it balanced.
No, they're not.
And so by assigning the rules, you are keeping it balanced. You are creating a
As
fun.
all things should be.
You're creating a fun atmosphere. So I mean, sometimes a rule like that, if we were all really seasoned players, hell yeah, random, I don't care. But when you're trying to because here's the thing is, it's not like the goal is to make Bob love the game as much as you.
Right.
The goal is, hey, Bob is going to actually give this a shot. Let's just try to help him have as good a time as possible.
Let's just not make him miserable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so if you change one rule to just say, hey, I'm assigning these characters, or at least even I'm assigning this one character.
Exactly.
Everybody else can be
That's
random.
100% allowed.
Who cares?
The designers even do it.
Yeah,
they
you're
don't
playing
care.
to have a good time.
Yeah.
Like that game is hardly ever, like, I don't play that game to win. I play that game for the experience.
Right. I play it for the puzzle.
Yeah.
Even if I fail the puzzle, I'm just like, oh, I almost had it.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But yeah. So
That's
anyway.
our Blood on the Clock Tower hour that always happens whenever I talk about it.
It's fine. It's fine. Listen, it's one of your favorite games. It deserves the time. Bobby.
For now, I'll interrupt your number one. And
I'm sure. Number one.
Is it a hidden deduction?
It is. Well, cat's out of the bag. Yeah. So. I don't want to start this here. So, the problem with Letters from Whitechapel, I don't want to say the problem, but the thing about it is so the one person is, Jack, and they're being hunted, and then you have the investigators, and I find the investigator role to be somewhat, I don't say boring, but kind of lackluster. You're searching or you're arresting, and that's about it. Like, with Jack, you're kind of doing a lot of the plotting and planning and trying to do things that seems a lot more interesting. And so this game managed to push past it because I've played on both sides, and I found both sides to be equally rewarding. Because a lot of times in a 1v many, one side just feels kind of lackluster. But in Halloween by Trick or Treat Studios, like, I had fun no matter what side I was doing. Like, I first played as one of the normal people, and Dan did such a great job with the whole, like, coming up behind me thing. It scared the crap out of me.
The funniest part is I didn't come up behind him. He came up in front of me. I was just standing
But
there.
the way you're facing matters so much in that game, and Dan's
so
like, well,
good.
I'm right here.
I will never not tell that story too. I mean, that's again, like all of these games, right? Sometimes there's something that happens in one of those games. We're always telling that story.
Yes.
Right.
And so then from then on, I was literally like, okay, I go over here, I look. Okay, I'm gonna go over here and I look. Okay, I'm gonna rest. I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna look.
And it sucked because I'm like, well, he's all the way over there.
Yeah.
I'm like literally on the opposite
catty corner. Yeah.
So it's like 2 turns later. I'm like, doo. Like, I got time. What? Yeah. I apologize for the mic spikes, but we got really worked up over this.
Yeah,
thing.
but so then the other day we were at a small convention and I got to play as Michael Myers, and I didn't unfortunately have a moment the way, because they were all expecting it and they were all like, and I had a really hard time trying to get myself positioned. And Tim's like, I go outside the window, I go back inside the window. I'm like, stop going through the damn window.
I was like wasting a lot of actions, but I was really trying to build him
He
off.
was too,
And it worked.
Because I didn't want to tunnel the other guy, because I got him like right away because they were in the same house.
Yeah.
Tim left and the guy was right there. I was like, I stab you, right? Because that's what I do. But then like I didn't want, I'm not gonna keep attacking him. I'm gonna go for somebody else. And they just kept like managing to maneuver themselves to where I couldn't like get to them with enough time to stab them in the same turn. And oh my gosh, but it was still so much fun. Didn't matter what side I was playing. And to me, it's super hard for a game to capture that much excitement from both the one and the many side of a game. And they did a great job with it, and I can't wait to play it again.
You know what's disgusting, Bob, is you're just giving in to the cult of the new.
Yeah, okay, it's Tim's as well. But also,
What's that?
really quick before Tim says his number one is Halloween. Were you able to take advantage of Michael Myers cards? Because I just wasn't, and I was wondering
The
if
extra
you
move
got
cards, yes, because there was a bunch of times where I was trying to get to Tim and he'd be like 6 spaces away.
Yeah.
6 spaces. I was able to move. Oh, blew a free move, and then I stabbed Tim.
I forgot the first time I played that all the cards you get back. Right?
Oh.
Like, they're not discard. Just like
Yeah,
how the
just-
survivor cards say discard, otherwise they go back to your hand. Right, that's what I'm saying. So that's the first time I played, I was like, Michael Myers cards, this doesn't seem great. And then I was like looking into it, and it's like, wait, they don't say discard. So they're
just
just an
play it.
action on your turn or
Like,
a
on
free
the
action.
heel,
Yeah, and
I gotta stab so many more people.
That's why I kept feeling like Michael was underpowered. So just pay attention to that.
So
many
I
times.
don't know the exact wording of the rules, but the cards are just free actions that then come back to you if they don't say discard usually. So just pay attention to that, because I think Michael is a lot more powerful than we're giving him credit for because
Okay. Well, he
I
gets more
lost my
powerful
first
as
Which makes
fight.
sense.
He gets more
Yeah.
cards as the game goes
Now
on.
we
He
really
doesn't
gotta
just
play
have
this
like
again.
5. But yeah, anyway, I'm
All right.
looking forward to trying that out again.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
for sure.
So my number one is based on my second favorite John Carpenter movie with an amazing soundtrack. And it is like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, set the rules and the standards, right? Still really probably like not my favorite horror movie franchise of all time because I think Friday the 13th is more creative and goofy and wild and fun and never gets as hacky as the Nightmare on Elm Street movies.
Oh, sure.
But Halloween is definitely my number one. It was my number one, like, and I built the list basically out from there.
Nice.
Emerson Matsuuchi, Trick or Treat
Yep.
Studios, they did a freaking fantastic job. This game was so much fun. When we played it, and then when that thing happened with Bob and Dan the very first time we played it, and then the cat and mouse between you and me, and then like the rest of the game, like that was so much fun. I've just had an amazing experience. I haven't even played as Michael Myers yet.
Yeah.
I cannot wait
Yeah.
to play as Michael Myers.
Sorry, next time
But-
I'm playing as him again, I have to
but
redeem myself.
But even if I'm not, like, I still just, like, it was so much fun, and there's that tension of, like, going through the house, and you're trying to search the things, but it's like, sometimes it's like, well, I only kind of want to be in this area for a little while because I haven't seen Michael for a minute, and so it's probably going to be my turn soon. I better get out of here. And yeah, and I even try to sort of play like a different play style a little bit the second time versus the first time playing. And, you know, they both work pretty well.
Yeah, you kept climbing out of the dang window.
Yeah, well, that was the thing. And even with Dan, there was a time where when he popped up to get me, and I think I jumped out of a window, but then instead of going back in the window, which is what I thought about doing, I kind of went around to the front door and like went in because I was like, I had a weapon. So I figured, well, if he's there and he
Yeah.
attacks me, I'll at least get a hit in. But I just kind of want to see what happens. But Dan had considered doing that, but then didn't.
I
And it,
almost stood in that exact square, and I was like, I'll just go back for someone else because I think that I hadn't attacked Mike at all yet.
Yeah, right,
And so I was
right.
like, oh, I'll go attack Mike. You know, so.
And so, like,
I could have killed
I opened the
Tim.
door and he would have been right there. But it was kind of like, again, sort of that push your luck aspect of it too, right? Like, okay, well, is he going to be here? And that was the same thing with you, where it was kind of like, well, I did this. I'm assuming you're going to like counter move
Loop
and try to go
around.
around.
Yeah.
So,
Back
and
in the window.
and it seems really dumb to just waste a whole action to go right back in that window. So that's what I'm going to do.
What's the least intelligent thing I
Yeah.
could do? Aha!
You assumed I was going to make a smart move.
I did too.
And,
That was my downfall.
But yeah, the cat and mouse of it really captures the theme. It is so much fun. It is so tense. I love 1v many hidden movement games. I mean, there's a ton of these on our list, right?
Yeah.
And that's for good reason because there's a lot of really good ones. And this is one of my favorite ones.
Yeah.
I mean, it like went right up to the top of the list very quickly because of how much fun it is
Yeah.
and everything that it creates. And it's a freaking amazing IP. Like to get to play the game and have that Halloween score like playing while we're doing it. It's like, oh, here
Won't
we go.
be happening during any live streams.
Yeah.
I mean, it could. You just don't monetize a live stream. That's fine. Yeah, I just wish I'd played it more because who knows? It might have been this high for me. We could have had a 3-way crossover Halloween on number 1. That would have been crazy.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But they played it more than me. You know, I just don't have the time. And unfortunately, not like a letdown, but just like so I don't get to live up to that hype.
Sorry.
My number 1 was very high last time we talked about something like this, but it wasn't number 1, and it moved up because again, I just think it's maybe the best game as far as theme goes for this
Okay.
kind of holiday. I made that comment earlier, foreshadowing. Abomination, the heir to Frankenstein.
Oh, I just wanted you to get that.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. Thanks. When it comes to the spooky theme of the season for playing a game around this year, this game nails it. The art direction is fantastic. What
Yes.
you're doing is awesome.
Yes.
The worker placement feels great. The
Yes.
little bits, even the non-upgraded bits, they're fine. You know,
Yes.
like you're building this body. It is so cool. You're literally gaining electrical charges and putting a body down and then pulling the switch and going like, is it alive? And
Nope.
like, Nope, trap. It's a fantastic game, and I'm not going to waste a whole bunch of our time on it because Bob went in depth on it earlier, and I knew he would. I thought it would be higher, if I'm honest. But
Well,
it is a great game,
Yeah,
though.
pretty
It
high.
is a really, really good game.
Yeah, maybe not so high.
yeah. So yeah,
Well, because I've played it a bunch, and to me, I kind of made this more the ones I'm more looking
that's
forward
true.
to trying to
The ones
play
you want
again.
to play like soon.
Yes.
And stuff. Yeah. So Abomination Air Frankenstein by Plaid Hat Games. A+.
I mean,
Fantastic.
absolutely
Yeah,
captures
fantastic.
the theme. It feels, I mean, like you said, right? I mean, it is one of the most thematic games I've ever played. Like, it really.
Man, you just feel like the scum of the earth when you're playing that game.
It's like I could go to the morgue and they're already dead. I could go to the cemetery if I need some bones, or I mean,
The zoo.
you could go. Yes, you can go to the.
I
don't
forget
think
where
it's
I
the
was
zoo.
getting the
It's like
animals
the
from.
pet cemetery.
Yeah.
It's a veterinarian or
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah,
Well, my Frankenstein has a dog foot.
that's right. It still counts.
But yeah, great list, guys.
Yeah.
Super fun. Let's run over our list one more time, and then we'll do honorable mentions.
Okay.
Okay.
So Bob, just count them down from
10 to 1?
10 to 1.
All right, so we have Betrayal at House on the Hill, Fate of the Elder Gods, Black Mold, Evil High Priest, Abomination: The Heir of Frankenstein, My Father's Work, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Unfathomable, The Letters from Whitechapel, and Halloween.
Well done. My number 10 is Mask of the Red Death. 9 is Last Friday. 8, Letters from Whitechapel. 7, Nightmare Studios. Terror Below is number 6. Number 5, My Father's Work. Number 4, Infection at Outpost 31. 3, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Number 2, Fury of Dracula. And number 1, Halloween.
Halloween. The Bloody Inn. The Thing, Infection at Outpost 31. Bloodborne, the board game. Letters from Whitechapel. Betrayal at House on the Hill. Nemesis. Court of the Dead, Mourner's Call. Blood on the Clock Tower. And Abomination, the Heir to Frankenstein.
That's it?
Thematic Halloween quote.
Whoa, insert here.
Yeah.
Spooky. We're werewolves, not swearwolves.
Oh, yeah, my bad.
The lament configuration. I can't think of a quote from that
sure.
one.
Yeah.
The box. You opened it. We came. Yeah, that's a good movie, man.
Yeah. I thought the best line from that is, and Jesus wept.
Yeah. That's not from the first one. I
It
don't
is
remember.
from the first one.
Oh, it is in
It's
the
the
first
very
one?
end of the first one.
Oh, it's the very end of the first
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
I was going to say, because I think he says that in a church in one of the other ones.
Oh,
as
maybe.
Well, but,
Maybe in one of the bad sequels.
Hey, I made this joke last time. Hey, Trick or Treat Studios. We mentioned 2 of your games.
3.
Oh yeah, 3 of your games. Try to make a Hellraiser game,
Oh,
please.
please.
I really
Please make
want
a Hellraiser
one.
game.
Anyway.
And then do a Chucky one, too, while you're at it. Just all the horror
do 'em
things.
all.
Do 'em all.
Hurry up.
Good golly. Sorry,
Yeah.
guys. All right, for the board game rundown, I've been Tim.
Bob.
Dan.
Stay spooky. I don't know.
And you can say the title's only 3